Hello, my friends, and welcome back to class here in Online Human Anatomy and Physiology 2. So this week, we are going to continue our investigation into thematic section number 3, where we decode the symphony of lesser-known interactions among the human body system. And so this week, I want to continue our journey into learning more about the highway of blood, as in the cardiovascular system. As this week's lesson, we are going to take another look at that body system and find out what stories it can tell us. In fact, this week's lesson is going to be more focused around techniques that can prove helpful for those that may be wanting to pursue a profession or career in the healthcare industry. So right now I am in the Eastern Nursing Teaching Lab, and I've actually hooked myself up. All these cords are attached throughout my body to this wonderful machine right here. This wonderful machine is called an EKG machine, electrocardiogram. And what it does is that it provides a wonderful snapshot of what is occurring in the human body. You see, in Anatomy and Physiology Part 1, we conducted a survey of the different body systems. And one of the body systems is, again, the cardiovascular system, the highway of blood. But we took a look at it on a conceptual level, trying to find out where oxygenated blood goes and deoxygenated blood goes. But now let's build upon that concept and utilize a variety of different resources that you will encounter in this week's assignment that will inform you and build a better concept, a stronger one called the cardiac cycle. But what is the cardiac cycle? The cardiac cycle is best explained as the cycle of blood throughout our cardiovascular system. You see, the strongest muscle in our body, the human heart, it pumps. And it pumps about the equivalent of a small cup of espresso of blood throughout our body. In order for it to pump, an electrical charge needs to be applied to the heart to get it to squeeze. And that's where this EKG machine comes in. It wants to measure the variables such as the electrical impulse to be able to help understand how our heart is pumping that blood. And that's going to be our main focus this week, is we want to be able to take a look and investigate the data provided. Here is a snapshot of my data. I was able to print it off. And what I would like for you to take a look at is going to be the crests and the troughs in these waves, and what those crests and troughs can tell us as the electrical pulse causes the heart to basically pump and develop a pacemaker. The way it pumps can be reflected in that data. And so if you have a problem with your cardiovascular system, it will reflect that. It's essentially us testing a hypothesis. And so this week, we're going to show you on how an EKG machine or device is set up. Again, I've got sensors all over my body right now that's currently collecting data. But we're also going to show you on how we can interpret those readouts and what kind of hypotheses you can make utilizing that data. Now we're back here in the lab, and one of the other concepts that I want you to be aware of in this part of the class is the fact that we use a lot of dissections to be able to show you the gross morphology, or basically the generalized shape of a variety of the different structures that you'll be interacting with in this week's lesson. And so seeing that we're learning about the cardiovascular system, we can't really dissect arteries and veins with a high enough resolution. We can understand the pathways that the blood takes within them, but we really also want to be able to take a look at structures in our body, such as the human heart. I've actually got a model right here, and you can see that the human heart, it has a variety of different structures already onto it, and that's where we're going to be utilizing dissections, either with resources such as our innerbody.com website or our McGraw-Hill's Anatomy and Physiology Revealed, where they actually have a lot of high-resolution photographs and the structures pointed out. And you'll be able to go through that gross morphology and quiz yourself on the identifications. And so a lot of anatomy and physiology classes, they try to stay away from these plastic models, and we want to be able to make use of actual specimens, wet specimens. And I've actually got some hearts right here. Here is a nice heart. It's actually a sheep's heart, because human hearts should be used for the human body. There's a lot of people in the world where their hearts aren't that great, and a heart transplant is much better than using a human heart for, say, a teaching demonstration. But as I'm looking at the human heart, it's generally the same shape, and I see a lot of the same structures in the model that I do in, say, the sheep's heart. So this tells us that comparative anatomy is a very important concept, but one we really don't cover that much in this course. But we can take a look on the external or exterior part of the heart. We can see that there's an apex. When we look anteriorly or more cephalic, we can see the aorta, which is a nice big tube that helps transport and allows blood to enter, and then vena cavas that will allow for that blood to exit as it's pumping. But one structure right here is actually pretty interesting. It's actually what they call a sinus. And the sinus is actually the electrical receptor that when our brain tells our heart to pump, it sends the electrical charge from the nervous system into the circulatory or cardiovascular system to tell that heart to pump. And we can do that with a little demonstration of that pumping by taking the heart, putting it back in the solution, holding it down just a little bit. The reason is because I'm trying to get all the internal anatomy to be submerged to act like blood. Water is a lot more viscous a lot less viscous than blood. Blood is, well, thicker than water, as the saying goes, but it's submerged, and then my hands will act as electrical charge, and you can start to see that blood leaving the system. Now, because we are utilizing dissections in this course, we will dissect this heart, as there's some structures that I find would be really interesting to delve deeper in. So I'm just going to cut this heart. As I'm cutting it, more liquid is coming out, but you can also hear the tension that this heart has in the muscles, and that's one of the reasons why they call the heart the strongest muscle in the body. But I'm just going to cut right through the aorta. Oh, you can really hear that snapping sound from the tissues. But here is the internal anatomy of the heart here and how the blood circulates through, utilizing a variety of different levers and pulleys of tissue. And then the right here would be would be the cardiac muscle, but of the myocardium right here. And that actually provides that strength that the heart needs to be able to pump. So if you have any questions this week about for the material, please reach out. I'm happy to set up a video chat with you to go over the dissections. You can swing by my office and actually take a look at some real hearts, and or you can send me an email. Again, I always respond quick to my emails during open office hours. And so really the takeaways this week is that the cardiovascular system is a roadmap for our blood, and it acts like a highway to transport oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood around the body. It will enter the heart. The heart will pump it out. In order for it to pump, it needs an electrical signal from the brain, which we can utilize devices like an EKG to be able to determine how effective that structure is working in the human body. And if it's not, we can always intervene. We have the technology to be able to better understand this body system. Thank you.